This is Joe Pugh for IFLTV. Delighted to be joined by Sonny Edwards and his latest acquisition in his managerial career, Adam Olare. Um, Sonny, I'll let you take the floor first of all. Big him up. And who is the man we're talking to right now?
A very, very talented fighter coming through. He's going to be campaigning at cruiserweight. He was a member of the 2024 Olympics. He's represented England and Nigeria. He's a fantastic fighter, very slick, can dig and bang as well. And I think he's one of the fighters that, if people haven't sort of tuned into him and his style from the amateurs, then I think it's not going to take him too long in the professionals. I think he's genuinely another fantastic addition to an already buzzing stable that we've got. You know, I think we're generally working with some of the brightest talents of British boxing and further afield of the next generation. He's 23 years old, soon to turn 24. He's 6'4", 6'5", and you know, looking to do as much as he can at cruiserweight with the eyes at the back end of his career, similar to like what Lawrence Coley is doing now with eye at the heavyweights, because he's been in the ring, he's mixed it with them, he's plenty big enough. But yeah, very, very, very exciting prospect. One that me and Anto Fitzpatrick are tremendously happy to get over the line and be working with. And like I said, just adding to the already decorated stable of fighters that we've got. We've got some great fighters. I think we're doing some great things with them, putting them in the right places, getting them and delivering them the right opportunities, protecting them from the sort of many pitfalls that come with a professional boxing career. And yeah, I think Adam's got everything that it takes to learn the rounds, go through the levels, look very impressive doing that, and then his top end, I think he's got a very, very high ceiling. He's a fantastic fighter. He's got a great grasp of range and uses reach to his advantage. He sets traps and lands hurtful shots. I think he's a very, very, very exciting talent and one definitely to look out for in the future.
Adam, before we talk about your boxing and what you've done thus far in your career, I
Yeah,
just want to kind of talk about your background because originally from Nigeria, is that right? And then
yeah. I
moved
was
to
born in
Newcastle.
Nigeria. Moved to London first, actually.
Okay.
Yeah, we were in London for a few years, 6 years, and then London's a bit too busy for a big family, and then we ended up moving to Newcastle, which I call home now.
Have
It's
you
a
boxed
beautiful
out?
place.
Have you boxed out of Newcastle your whole career? Yeah.
Yeah, I started boxing in Newcastle, and I'd like to start my debut. Not too far from there. We're looking at keeping the home support and growing that and going out across the country and across the world in the future.
Let's talk about the Olympics then. You decided to represent Nigeria. Is that correct in the Olympics Paris 2024?
Yeah.
Yeah, just talk about that experience as a whole. That must have been amazing for you.
No, it was even better after the Olympics had gone through because in the moment I'm there, I'm a bit focused on the fight. I'm not too thinking about the experience itself. And then when I got out, I was still in my head about the fight itself and everyone else competing. It only got better for me after I'd left the village because I can step back and look at the whole experience as itself. But it was an amazing experience to be there with family, with friends, competing in one of the biggest stages in the world. It's a huge accolade to say you qualified for the Olympics.
Why is now the right time to turn pro?
Well, you heard Sonny, man. He was bigging me up before. I'm, I've done a bit in the amateurs. I'll be a bit humble here. We're getting the right sparring that we need. We're progressing well. I'm still young. I've got loads of time to take each step it is. I don't need to rush through. I think now's the perfect time because I've got my youth, but I'm also coming into my man's strength as well.
I think what Sonny and Anto have done in a very short amount of time is collected more of a boutique of fighters. They don't sign anyone. They sign people who they really believe in and believe that could be the next generation of boxing superstars. So I'm assuming you're more than happy to sign with Sonny, and just like he's happy to sign you.
100%, man. I mean, Just what I've heard. Obviously, I've met Sonny. I think back end of 2024, when Charlie was going to fight a Sumba. Met him at the weigh-in for that, and since then, I'm seeing everything that Sonny and Anton have done with the likes of Giorgio, Leon Tang, Brad Casey as well. And it's just the proof in the pudding what they can do with especially young up and coming talents. And I know what I can do in the ring. So
Sonny, I know the plan is for Adam to campaign at cruiserweight, but as you said, back end of his career, he might be fighting at heavyweight, and with his age, he could end up fighting Leo Tang. So you might be in the middle there, mate.
Oh, a lot of percents going left and right. And in all seriousness, look, we work with fighters that fight and operate in the similar weights. Because of how we are as a sort of management stable, how we are as people. As you know, Joe, all our fighters they get on. They're not looking at each other, sort of hoping one of them falls so it makes them better. They understand that the team being stronger is better for everyone. They support each other, and if at any times that there's fighters, just at cruiserweight, we've got Brad Case, we've got Iman, we've got Chris Montegriffo, we've got Adam. Um, Now, if for both fighters the fight makes the perfect sense at the perfect time, then we will never be putting a block on the fight that the fighters want. However, our goal is to build them all independently, focus on them all as we're working on their conversations, just what's the best for them. And if some of these fights become inevitable and impossible to avoid because of the talent and the level of fighters that we're working with, then we'd be open to it at the right time, regardless of whether what fighters fight each other, like, but also we'll be representing the fighters at the time as best as possible, and it will only be if it makes sense for the fighters and it's a fight they want, an opportunity they want, then we wouldn't stand in the way. And but every conversation regarding Adam or Leo or Brad or whoever it is will always have their full intentions and their full support and for their career. And, no one else is. No one's going to be used as a pawn or a stepping stone to help build someone else. That will never be the case. These fights will only ever happen sort of in-house fights when they are the fight to make. I don't know, two world champions and they've got belts there, or a mandatory and they want to keep their title and they want to go for the challenge, etc. Moments like that. But never looking to push them directly into each other, as most of our lads, we've seen just this week, Daniel Stoican, who you interviewed with me recently, he's been sparring Bobby Flood. There, Daniel's also coming over to spar Chris Mullender, I think next week as well. So a lot of our fighters, they start working with each other, they become friends, they get to each other's fights, they support each other. So that's always the core goal, to make sure that everyone feels as of a part as each other of our ever growing stable and community of fighters, and enjoy the journey. We're all big boys, we're men when we get into the professional scene. So every conversation we'll be looking at the pros, the cons, the risks, the rewards, etc., weighing them up. And like I've told Adam just this week when we sat down, had our proper, first meeting regarding where we want to go, the pace we want to take it, etc. And we will always be doing the best for them, and we'll be building into them as much as possible. And we're not going to get rushed or pushed, made to fight in any sort of term outside of what is ready for their career. And look, I've been in the middle of my brother fighting my first fighter in Thomas Asomba. I've been in the middle of my gym mate Liam Cameron fighting my best friend in Lyndon Arthur, and it just happens in boxing sometimes. But that's just part and parcel of the game. But when it comes to developing and building Adam and his career, just like the other fighters, every conversation that revolves around him will be only for his best interest, not mine, not the promoters, not the trainers. It's always on the back of what the fighter wants, where they want to go, and how they want to get there.
To be fair, I'm not obviously not privy to what goes on behind the scenes, but one thing I will say, every fight week, and you've got this to look forward to, Adam, where one of Sonny and Anto's fighters are on, it's always the best environment. They've got their little corner of the hotel, and it is literally a little family dynamic there. Whether it be Leo Tang and Brad Casey, and then you get Ash involved, and chuck in Dave Allen for good measure. I know he's not your fighter, but it is a proper environment, and I know that's what you want to create within your stable, Sonny.
No, 100%, because, you know, I know what it's like being a fighter myself, and, sort of having that envy and them sort of like tension in house. It usually creates problems in the future. Fighters watching someone else's whole career, thinking they're missing out on all of these opportunities, etc. Where when you understand the business that we're in, the stronger every single fighter we have, the one fighter that maybe isn't as strong right now for whatever reason, gets a little bit of help from the other fighters. And then if a fighter drops down, the other fighters being strong gets a little help, because when you've got the headliners, when you've got the fighters in the contracts, when the ball's up and running and the conversations are very already happening, when it comes to getting an Adam or Chris Malunda or Darnell or a fighter on a card that maybe perhaps isn't in the contract right now currently, you're in position to have them conversations. So every time that we ring, like every time I'm in the ring and I look out and see a row of the fighters, like you've mentioned, Giorgio next to Leo, next to Brad, next to Bobby, next to Anto, just seeing them all there while Ish is in the ring or something, and they're all cheering and supporting and wishing him the best. Like for me, that means a lot, because I don't work with any fighter that, okay, I know there's potential, and what I think they can do in the boxing ring is obviously very, very important, but as important, if not more important than that, for me is the person that we're working with. One, because it dictates the journey and the relationship that you have, and two, I'm a busy man with my own life outside of boxing. I'm a dad, I'm a partner, I'm a family member. So anytime that I lose my time out of my personal life, I want to make sure that it's representing people that I actually want to represent, people that I actually like, people that I care about. So when I see my fighters creating a good relationship or going out their way, sparring each other, supporting each other, like, it means a lot to me, because all of these fighters mean a lot to me. So, the fact that it generally is bubbling, and I take it as a great compliment, that from the outside looking in, you see it as almost like a family, because nothing's forced. It's just, honesty, transparency, hard work, us deliver on our side, the fighters deliver on their side, and trying to enjoy this journey of boxing as much as possible, because when it's going right and going good, it is probably the best thing. You've been there on big nights when fights have gone over the line that maybe they weren't expected to. It's hard to replicate that sort of emotion and feeling anywhere else. So, to spend the next 10, 15, 20 years, however long, this sort of management journey, enjoying the days spent, enjoying the trips, enjoying the fight weeks and the training camps, etc. It's so important to get to the top level, I think. And yeah, the way that it's organically building into what it's building into, and Adam, another great addition to already, like I said, one of what I think is one of the best stables and of talented young fighters coming through. And the large majority of them are under 24, 25 years old for the next generation, and when they get to the level that they get into, with the opportunity to stay there for as long as possible.
Adam, what's the timeline? When do you think we will see you in a professional ring for the first time?
See, I'm not. I don't know for certain. I don't want to put a time in people's heads and then it not come through. So I'll tell you what. When I would like to be is as soon as possible. If you can give me in tomorrow, I'll get in tomorrow. But we just got to take our time and not rush anything. Cover all bases, and then we want to make sure the debut hits home and it's exactly where it needs to be. No rushed feelings. It hits the peak, I'd say.
Sonny was telling me you've sparred the likes of Ben Whittaker, Richard Riakporhe, Callum Simpson, so you're gaining experience even when you're not technically in a competitive ring, aren't you, right now?
Yeah, you have to see fighting. Being in the ring itself is the 1% of what makes boxing. Everything else is what people don't see. It's the sparring, the training, the runs, cold nights, everything. The final day is just the tip of the iceberg.
Excellent. Well, Adam, Sonny, we look forward to seeing this partnership and more importantly your career unfold in the coming months.